Yo, what's up, everybody out there? Welcome to another music class. 30 lessons in 30 days. I'm 5 days behind, so I'm going to do 2 or 3 videos today, 2 or 3 videos tomorrow, and we're going to try to get caught up that way. So today is going to be called The Game is the Game. This is going to be a 4-level music theory game that I play with all my students once we've learned all of these levels. And one thing I was thinking about before this is that if I were to make, I'm trying to make these videos between 10 and 15 minutes. But if I were going to make a video that would be something like an hour, teaching you to play this game and all the levels in it would be what we would do. In fact, we have done individual videos on each one of these levels. And one thing that's important first, I mean, you can take a screenshot of this right here or print it out, rewrite it or something like that. The point of this game is not necessarily to memorize every detail in it, in that you can use the cheat sheet, okay? And it's the playing and the thinking through the process of this music theory game, which is probably going to contribute to you memorizing it in the long run. So this is a 4-level exercise that it will teach you almost everything you're ever going to need to know about harmony, how to construct chords, how to construct scales, things like that. So let's get into it. And a lot of this is going to be review, so I'm not going to re-explain every single thing, but let's just play and I'll show you how to quiz yourself, how to quiz other people, and this is what I do with a lot of my students. So level 1 is the chromatic scale. We learned about this before. 12 notes separated by half steps. And basically what you're going to want to do to get good at level 1 of this game is to be able to say in a row all the notes. So let's just do that real fast. Again, this is a little bit of review. And say we're starting at C. We can start at any note you want, but start at C, saying sharp on the way up, flat on the way down. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Now we're going to go backwards. C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, C. So you got to know, of course, that there's no B sharp or E sharp, and there's no C flat or F flat. So you're saying the notes in a row, you're saying them forward and backwards. And another thing you could do to quiz someone or yourself at this level is to say a note and say another note and ask how many half steps are between the two. Like I'm on C. And one thing that I should say is if you visualize it or think about it like it's a board game, it'll be more fun, it'll seem more like a game, and you'll get better at it. So I'm on C right now. How many half steps to get to E? The answer is 4. Let's prove it. We're on C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Okay? Or I'm on F. How many half steps is A away? It's the same answer. It's 4. Probably should use a different example. But it's navigating the number of half steps between every note is a thing that you should be able to do to get competent at the chromatic scale. Another aspect of this that is kind of interesting is framing things and skinning the cat in a different way. So a second ago, I said, I'm on C, how many is it to get to A? You could also say, I'm on A, and I go up by 3 half steps. What note am I on? So it's like a math problem. You have your variables, and you can say X is here. You're doing something plus something equals X, or X equals something plus something. So reframing it and rewording it is a big way that I test my students on mastery, and it's how you can master a system approaching it from different angles. It really helps. So now on to level 2 is the major scale, and of course you must use the chromatic scale to make up the major scale. And I'm realizing I did not write the most important part about this. So while I talk, we're going to write our intervals. So the major scale is 7 different notes, and they're separated by a certain interval. So the saying that I recommend learning is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. All right, very good. All right, so right there you're gonna want to memorize that, but you don't need to right away because you can have your cheat sheet. And you're basically just going to say this when you're trying to quiz someone or yourself. My blank is this. What is my blank? All right, and usually we start off with 1, like the 1 is what key you're in. So if I'm in the key of D, what's the 3? Okay, what's the 3 in the key of D? It is F sharp, because you go up a whole step to the 2 and a whole step to the 3, and it's F sharp. My 1 is A. What is my 7? Okay, it is G sharp or A flat. And in this context, it would be G sharp. We'll get into that another time. But you can either go forward a whole lot of ways, or you can just simply go back a half step. It's back a half step from the 1 to the 7. Therefore, in the key of A, the 7 is G sharp. Okay. And now that's, pretty basic to do when you start with the 1. But when you start getting into, like, I'm going to say I'm on the 5, what is the 7? Okay. I'm on, like, say my 5 is E. What is my 7? It is G sharp. What key are we in? The key of A. And, you could say, what is the 2, then the 3, then the 5 in the key of C? Okay. That's D, E, G. Okay, and just to be clear, we're only on the note level right now. We're only on the note level. We're not going to any chords. We're simply just saying the names of the notes that make up the major scale that we're in. So that's, once they're perfect on the chromatic scale, just your half steps, you move on and you say, hey, now we're at the major scale level, and you start playing around with these whole half step intervals. Quiz yourself, quiz others on that. Okay. Number 3 is the triad harmonization. That's a fancy term for what are my correct triads in whatever key I'm in. And we've done a video on this as well. 1 is major, 2 and 3 are minor, 4 and 5 are major, 6 is minor, and 7, that little degree sign, is diminished. And below, if you notice what we're doing, like with most classes, we're not at the piano right now. We're just talking it out, and we can do it at the piano. And notice I'm not even saying to play these things yet. This is simply just a language class. You're saying, what is the blank chord in the key of blank? If 2 is this, what is my 4 chord? Okay, and you should be able to talk this whole thing out without a piano. Now, when you get over to a piano, you're going to start to play them. You're going to be able to visualize it. But in my opinion, that's almost too easy. A lot of my students can't stand doing this for the first couple months, but then after a couple months, they're just, they love doing it, and because they're able to do it free of any piano, any guitar. They're able to just understand the language. Then we apply it. So our triad harmonization, for instance, we just went through it. If I'm in the key of C, what is my 7 chord? Now, notice that they're going to have to say a type of chord now. They're not going to be able to say just B. Well, it is a B, but they can't. If they say B, they're implicitly on the major scale level. We are not implicitly on the major scale level. We're explicitly on the triad harmonization level. So they would have to say B diminished to get it right. Okay, if we're in the key of D, what's our 4 chord? It's G major. Now, as you get comfortable, we've done a video before on the one that needs to be said is minor. The one that goes without saying is major. If I say, hey, play a C chord, you're playing a C major. But for the purposes of this game, I do like my students to say the full thing every single time. And then once they know it really well, we'll start to abridge it a little bit. So if we're in the key of F, what is our 5 chord? It is C major. If we're in the key of E, what is our 6 chord? It is C sharp minor. The reason I know that, just to kind of, maybe I glossed over this earlier, I'm using the previous level. That's actually a big thing I glossed over earlier, is you're using the previous levels to answer the current level. In order to get the major scale right, you need to understand how half steps work, because a whole step is just 2 half steps. So you got to be solid on this one. Major scale, have to be solid. The triad harmonization level, you have to know your chord type as well as the interval between the scale degrees in order to get it right. So that we can't gloss over that. I'm in the key of C. What's my 2 chord? I go up a whole step and I say the chord that it says. Therefore, it's D minor. Up a whole step, it's a minor chord because that's what it says. It's the 2. There's a little bit of trust that goes in. You got to trust me that I'm kind of knowing what I'm talking about. What's my 5 chord? What's my 5 chord in the key of B flat? Okay, I'm at the 1, which is B flat. Up to the 2 is C, up to the 3 is D, up to the 4 is E flat, and up to the 5 is F. The 5 is a major chord, therefore it's F major. All right? Same deal down here at the 7th chord level, but we're doing chords that are a little bit more complex, but we're not even playing them yet. This is not a physical exercise. And the only thing it's going to work is your brain, and you got to say the right thing, right? So major 7 is 1, minor 7 is 2 and 3, major 7 is 4, dominant 7 is 5, minor 7 is 6, and minor 7 flat 5 is 7. But you don't really even have to worry about what those things even mean. All you have to worry about is using the major scale to find your intervals, and you have to use this little chart to say the right thing. So in the key of C, what's my 1 chord? It is a C major 7. In the key of B, what is my 7 chord? The 7 is a half step below the 1, and it's a minor 7 flat 5. Therefore, it's an A sharp minor 7 flat 5. So, we've gotten comments before, like, what are some exercises that I can do? I'm doing them right now. You can do this if you're a teacher, you quiz your students. Now, these are videos that you can rewind and take screenshots of this. One of the biggest things about teaching this stuff is you got to make sure your student understands the previous level very, very good. And if you get to a hard level that they don't understand, you have to be able to backtrack through the process and see where the weakness actually lies. Written below everything, if you do feel like making these chords, these are the whole step or the half step formulas that make up every single one of these chords up here. And again, I'm assuming that you've seen the previous videos because, a lot of this stuff, like notice I just have the symbols here. I didn't write down the names of what triangle 7 is called. That's a major 7. But the video I just threw up there about 15 minutes ago gets into that. But I would recommend, if you want to understand music, just watch every video in this series. It'll be worth your time. I guess, you do it just a couple a day. You think about it, maybe take some notes on it. But yeah, that is the game. The game is the game. I play it with all my students. When I'm playing this game when I'm reading chord charts. That's basically what you're not even basically. If I'm doing a jazz lead sheet and it says to go to these chords, I'm thinking about what numbers they are. In my hymnal downstairs, I should show it to you guys at some point. I write the numbers. I mean, I'm decent at reading music, but I'm not adept at it. So when I am playing out, the thing I can get most mileage out of quick is writing down the numbers. So last weekend on Easter, we changed a song up on the fly. We subbed in a song, and I wrote out the numbers real fast. Took about 45 seconds to a minute to just write out the numbers. I'm analyzing the sheet music and writing it out, and that's what you're doing in real time when you're playing jazz. Jazz music or all kinds of any pop music, really. So that's the game. You can quiz yourself. There's 4 levels: chromatic scale, major scale, triad harmonization, and 7th chord. You can quiz yourself, quiz others, and this one day goes into playing by number on the fly. So that's it. Probably going to cut another video right now. 30 lessons in 30 days. I'm trying to motivate myself. I'm going to speak it into existence. That doesn't really happen. That doesn't really work, guys. Sorry. But I love you. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys for the next video.